Hey guys, welcome back to Transmit the 1075. Got some interesting stuff to share with you today. Here's a fire in Baltimore City. Anyone that knows anything about Baltimore, these guys definitely see a ton of work, highly respected. Baltimore is just one of those cities that's, I hate to say it, but sort of circling the drain, having a lot of crime problems, you name it. It's in the top five, I would say, crime-ridden, decrepit, falling apart cities, but I'm sure the guys see a lot of work and enjoy themselves on a semi-regular basis. But anyhow, what I want to show you today is I'll show you a little at the end of the video, but I'm also going to show you a little bonus thing of what occurs here, which you don't see every day. But let's check this out and talk about what we're seeing at this hydrant in the busiest chauffeur in Baltimore City. So I just want to point out too, this is why, look, I have respect for all firefighters, but being a city firefighter is at another level. It's the difference between playing AA baseball to being in the majors. Look, you're in suburbia and you have a two-story wood frame single family home and it's on an acre of land. You screw up, you do the wrong thing, and basically the house burns down. In the city, and a fire like this, where there's fire in multiple buildings, large area, vacant structures, difficult access, lockdown, hockey puck, roll-up doors, chaos. The level of skill set needed to accomplish your goal here is vastly higher than in some areas. Again, I was a suburban firefighter, worked in the city in other capacities, and so, again, I have the utmost respect for everyone, but guys, you better know what you're doing if you're going to get a city job. So at the moment, it looks like a half the block is on fire. This goes to 5 alarm. So in the description, I'll leave a link. Go watch this guy's video if you want to get a feel for things. I'm not here to show you about this fire. Enjoy his video. But what I want to show guys that either don't know, either because they don't have this type of product on their rig, or maybe you're new and a young guy learning, just check this thing out. So if you don't know any better, you're not a chauffeur or not in an engine company or a firefighter, there's already a lot going on that people may or may not understand. And I'll start here since we got a good shot. Here comes the chauffeur, the engineer, the driver, and Baltimore apparently uses 4-inch supply hose, which I'm a huge proponent of. 5-inch, in my opinion, is a little too much. I have other videos about that you can check out in the description. But here he comes, and he's going to be proceeding right over to here, which anyone that knows anything, this is your front suction, generally used for hitting a hydrant. Usually you'll nose in, but in this case, he's going to be stretching 4-inch to the front of the engine, and we'll describe and understand further. So already, as we said before, this block, you got a 3-story mixed-use, ordinary, I would suggest, building on fire, smoke in the rear, heavy smoke in the rear, smoke pushing out the front, fire around the corner. Again, this is a major incident. And so what's going on here? As we've discussed in other videos, as a general rule, although it's not necessarily the case any longer, anything below your steamer cap, your side intake, anything above that is generally a discharge. Not always like that anymore, but that used to be a general rule. So he already has a 5-inch or 4-inch line hooked to the intake, a 5 or 4-inch line hooked to the discharge, and he's hooking to the intake of the front suction here. All right, so now he's going to hook that to the discharge of the hydrant itself. And so this is one of the things I want to talk about. In my view, what they're using here is a Humat valve. Maybe some departments have different names, whatever. But I have to say, I use this valve my entire career, even in my volley days, the career department I belong to. And so if you don't know what a Humat valve is, essentially it's this. It's a valve with 4 connections, one that hooks to the hydrant, one that goes to the fire, and then an intake and a discharge side. And so what I really dug about this, especially if you're in a volunteer department or even career where you're maybe first due and you're by yourself for a period of time, what this allows you to do is, let's just say, let's just assume I think what happened here is the engine, not engine 8, but another engine, likely pulled up here, hooked this Humat valve up, and then drove down the alley. And so this line that you're seeing here, we'll see as the video goes on, we'll go down this alleyway. And so once the engine goes down there and then hooks it to their intake, they have a water supply. They have one of their guys turn the hydrant on, and so that's why there's no water flying out. This hydrant's on, supplying this supply line, but you can still access the 2 other sides here. And so the chauffeur of engine 8, normally under just a regular circumstance where you're going to supply this, what you can do is boost the pressure of this supply line. So let's just call it engine 1, even though I don't know what it is. Engine 1's down here. They hit the Humat. They drop their line. They have a water supply. It's on. Engine 8 comes along. He hooks one line to the intake, one line to the discharge, and what essentially happens when you flip a valve here on top of the Humat is the water will then go into the engine and then discharged out and back through this line, and now you're boosting the pressure. So you're utilizing the hydrant now to its fullest ability. Now, in this case, I don't see this very often, and so this we can discuss. I think this is a great idea, but also there are limitations of the hydrant. So ultimately, can this do? But this chauffeur here is now hooked another intake to the engine, and he's hooking that to one of the side discharges of the hydrant, not part of the valve. Again, this guy is really really going to town here. Now he's going to pull a 2.5 and stretch it and get it ready for potential use later in the incident. And as I said before, the good news is our pretend engine 1 or whatever's down here has a water supply, and he's going to boost that pressure, but he doesn't have to worry that they don't have water.
Come on, 31 is that. I'm 6 truck, hold tight a second.
So I've forwarded the video. Again, watch the original for the whole thing because I just want to talk about this subject. But we're going to come back. This is several minutes later. So in my view, Engine 8 chauffeur is pretty talented and pretty knowledgeable and probably a veteran guy. So again, ultimately this hydrant, I don't know what the maximum flow capacity is of these hydrants. There, as everyone knows, or you should know, right? There's different size mains, so I don't ultimately know. But the chauffeur here has been able to increase, extract as much water as he can out of this hydrant, both by the front intake and also through the Humat through the side. And so not only is he supplying our pretend engine 1, but he's also flowing a deck gun, which, you know, maybe he's flowing 750 gallons, something like that. And they're going to soon to be flowing a 2.5. That's about as, I would argue, about as effective as you could get under the circumstances here, and I commend the chauffeur of engine 8 here. Anyhow, if that's the first you've ever heard of the Humat, they definitely, again, most of the time, this is out of the ordinary, I think. Most of the time, you're just going to see it used hitting a hydrant, having a water supply. In the cases when I used it, we used 5-inch, which again, I thought was overkill. Even 4 would be adequate. But in most suburbia, most areas, the standard hydrant pressure is so good, even without having an engine on the hydrant supplying it. 3 or 4 lengths or more of 4 or 5-inch to the engine after you laid from the hydrant was more than adequate, and we would just utilize that Humat all by itself. Again, with the Humat, you have the ability to supply it and boost that pressure with a second engine that goes to the hydrant, to the plug. Or you want to get really tricky and start adding additional supply lines from the side of the hydrant, you can do things like this. Anyway, food for thought. Tell me what does your department use Humats? Do you like them? Or do you think they're effective? Do you have a better idea? Is there a new toy in town that works better or what have you? But anyway, that's my opinion. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you was just a pretty interesting. So you'll see this. Again, this is the fire buildings, this whole block. And anyway, you don't really see this that often. I'm curious to know if there's a Baltimore firefighter someone knows. This too, there's so many vacants around here. This too seems to be a vacant building. But later on in this fire, everything seems to be going on according to plan. They're doing a nice job. They have master streams everywhere, engine companies surrounding this building. They have, like I said, an alleyway, and even this building's not on fire. But lo and behold, all of a sudden, you glance over, let's see if I can get this to go a little faster. All of a sudden, holy crap, you've got an exposure going pretty good now. So your incident now has gone from this entire block to holy Christmas. We got a 5-story, another ordinary building with what appears to be heavy fire on the roof, almost out of the blue. Anyway, does anyone know what happened here? Is this just an ember landing and catching the roof on fire? Was this fire a arson to begin with, or squatters, and maybe both of these buildings were lit off? I do not know. But this incident is going to grow quite quickly. Anyway, go check out the original. Please follow along. Please check out my other ride-alongs in New York City, discussions about everything from bailouts to anything else under the sun. I'll have a bunch of them listed in the description. Thanks so much for watching Transmit the 1075, and we'll see you at the next one.